saying is when someone gets onto minoxidil, is it like a lifelong?
It is.
It's a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think people need to know this, like this kind of information, because most people just start it because, you know, things can get trendy online. There's a time when minoxidil was really trendy, like on TikTok, everyone was talking about it and all this. So I think people need to know, and I'm glad that you're here talking to us about this, because sometimes someone starts something and they don't know that you have to commit to this thing forever.
And the chemical processes, we have a lot of other areas from which we can lose hair. And diet is a huge, huge area when it comes to that.
You don't really begin to understand what a huge part of your identity your hair is until you begin to lose it. Years ago, I couldn't even imagine myself talking about hair loss. I've always had long, thick, curly hair, so it never occurred to me that I could lose it. Well, that changed a few years back. It was a regular day. I walked into a salon to get my hair texturized and ended up losing a huge chunk of hair at my crown. Now, if you haven't realized yet, this episode is very personal to me, and I believe you or someone close to you could be facing hair loss at different stages. Today, we're talking about the facts and separating them from the hair growth fiction. Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to the Cinnamon Beauty Podcast. This is a space where we recognize that beauty is so much more than what you see on the outside. It's the resilience, the courage, and the faith we all carry inside. I'm your host, Lucky, and in the studio today, I'm privileged to be joined by Celestine Gitau. She is a certified trichologist with the International Association of Trichologists. She has over a decade of experience in hair and scalp health, providing assessment, diagnosis, and managing hair and scalp conditions. She's also an educator, mentoring and training young trichologists that are studying, and she has talked about hair on various platforms and also written numerous publications on hair and scalp health. I'm privileged to have her in the studio with me today. Celestine, how are you?
I am good, and thank you for having me, Lucky.
I'm so glad and honored, if I should say, to have you on, because Celestine today is going to take us through why we're losing hair, what are the everyday things that we could be doing that could be accelerating hair loss, and most importantly, can we grow back our hair? So Celestine, just tell us, how did you actually end up being a trichologist? How did this journey start for you?
I would say I had lost hair myself as well, but how I got into trichology was actually by chance. I joined in as a theatre technician, helping with hair transplants. And then when I got into the field of trichology, I really got very connected with the whole idea of diagnosis, establishing where the concern is and getting solutions. So I enrolled back to school, and here we are, almost 10 years down the line. And I would do this again, even in another life.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And for the people that are viewing us now, Celestine is the trichologist that checked me, that diagnosed me when I went to Hair Hub. Hair Hub is in Nairobi. So you said you lost hair, and that you had lost hair, and then... But you have really beautiful hair. Like, it's hard to tell now that you've ever lost hair. Do you see a lot of women on a daily or coming into the clinic that are experiencing hair loss?
I do, yes. The number of women who are experiencing hair loss is actually on the rise, I would say. Mostly, I would contribute it to quite a number of things, including elements like stress, also how we are styling our hair most of the times. And also sometimes there could be things that we probably don't have control over, like inflammatory conditions and the likes, and as well as genetics. So yes, there are a lot of women who are going through hair loss, but we normally don't see that out here in the streets because we have all these amazing remedies that we can use to cover up our hair, nice weaves, nice hairstyles. Yeah.
No, because I was actually going to ask you that in recent years, it's just been more visible that people are losing hair. I think maybe it's because of the social media visibility on social media and people sharing their stories. But before, you couldn't even hear about people losing hair. So I was just, is it a combination of both that it's actually on the rise and then we're also seeing a lot of it on social media, or is it that it has always been there and we just weren't seeing it before?
I would say it's a combination of both. Yes, we have more, I would say there are more conditions now than there were before. If you look at it, we are more predisposed to more stress compared to probably years back. There is more things like pollution, things that we don't have control over, pressure at work, many types of things that could also cause hair loss. If you look at a few 5-6 years down the line when COVID happened, after the COVID and the immunization, we got a lot of hair loss linked to those things. So also occurrences that are happening in the society also sometimes increase what types of hair loss we are seeing. Now, there is also more awareness now compared to years back. We are, as a specialist, we are talking more about it. More people are now open to speak about hair loss, to talk about their journey more than what they used to do before.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, because I think it should be a combination of both, that we're seeing the rise of it, but then there's also the visibility on social media so people know more about hair loss. Because if I'm being honest and frank, it's just hair loss is kind of viewed like a taboo. Okay, in a way it's hidden. There's a way it's hidden so much that you wouldn't know that someone is losing hair unless they shared it with you, because there's so many ways you can hide it. But then also, like for me, I had never even thought about hair loss until I started losing hair, because I hadn't seen it in my family. I hadn't seen it with my parents or anything like that. So it was very hard for me to even begin to share it, even with my family, that I'm losing hair. I just felt a certain way. But then how does someone know that this is hair loss? What is normal thinning? What is normal shedding of the hair? How can someone tell that, this is a normal, I'm actually losing hair? How does someone begin to notice that? Just if you could give that us like briefly, how does someone begin to notice that they're losing hair?
There are different ways that someone can notice that they are losing hair. I can start by talking about what is normal hair shedding. Now, our hair normally grows in a cycle that has 3 stages. We have a growing phase, a phase we call the anagen phase. Then there is a transition phase where the hair stops growing as it is preparing to shed to give room for new hair. We call it the catagen phase. And then we have the cycle or the stage where the hair now sheds from the skin or the scalp, and then we get new hair growing. We call the telogen. So at any given point in our lifetime, we have a percentage of hair that's in the shedding phase. So it's normal for us to shed probably 50, 100 hair strands a day. And that's why for those people who keep open hair, they see some hair strands on their brush every day when they are styling their hair. However, the moment we start seeing more shedding than that, we start seeing more hair on the sink, on our beddings, on our clothes, then that becomes abnormal hair loss. Now, the other way that you can also notice that you're losing hair is if you notice the density of your hair is becoming less, you're getting thinning. Now, what most of the patients will tell me when they come, they might not be able to know the scientific terms of what's happening, but they will say that before I used to have a thick ponytail, but now I feel like my ponytail is becoming thinner over time. Or someone will say, for those people who keep locks, they will say that I used to have very thick locks, but now I find that my hairstylist has to combine 2 locks to make the same thickness of an initial 1 lock. So that means we are losing the density of hair. Someone may also notice patches of hair loss, areas that used to have hair before, but now they don't have hair or they have less hair. The other element is also recession. Some people might notice the hairline receding over time. And people attribute it to so many things, but once you notice your hair receding, it's a very good thing that we have it checked so that we can be able to see, can we address it in good time so that then we don't get to have more hair loss. Well, there are also other signs that may not necessarily mean that you are actually having hair loss at the moment, but there are scalp indications that would mean that if left not
Unchecked.
attended, yes, we might end up having hair loss. Things like if we are having a lot of itchiness on the scalp, if we are having maybe pimples, some people will have tenderness on the scalp, pain. All these things need to be checked because sometimes, well, yes, they could be just something we can address and maybe just an allergic reaction from a product you used or synthetic extensions you used. But sometimes it could be an indication of inflammation or inflammatory conditions. And this would end up causing us to start getting less hair growing on the scalp.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding you correctly, is that initially what you said is you shouldn't really be able to notice your hair shedding. Yes, it sheds normally, but you shouldn't notice it that much. Yeah, when
Exactly.
when you start to notice it a lot, then usually you should have that checked out. That's
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Anytime you notice something, I normally say that the hair speaks to us. It tells us what's happening. So if you notice something that's out of what you're used to, then that needs to be checked.
Well, going back on the thing of hairstyles, you mentioned that at the beginning, that the hairstyles that most of us are doing, maybe wigs, braids, all these things, extensions and all that. But then, what hairstyles? Because you see, like for me, being an African girl, I've grown up having my hair braided and it's just become a part of my life. Like even here in Kenya, you'll see like 8 out of 10 girls probably have their hair braided. It's usually like that. So I've also noticed when I started to notice that I was losing hair, there's also like where your forehead hair, like the baby hairs, what we call the baby hairs, don't usually grow longer. Like they're stagnant at a certain height. They never grow longer than that. Is that normal? Or is that, like, should the hair at the front of our head be as long as the rest of the hair? Or, like, what causes that? Because sometimes we find that especially most African women, don't have a lot of hair at the front. Usually people can attribute that to traction, alopecia, all this. But can our hair really grow as long as the rest of the hair? Or is it the hairstyles that are affecting us that we don't have that hair at the front, or is just that genetics that we're just like that?
Now we have 2 types of hair on the scalp. We have the terminal hair, that's the thick hair that we have from after the baby hairs moving back. Then we have the vellus hairs, the tiny small hairs that most of the times we call baby hairs. Now genetically, baby hairs are meant to be baby hairs. So they might not thicken or change in terms of their genetic formation to be terminal hairs. But what happens is when we style our hair tightly, and by styling I mean we either are doing very tight braiding, heavy braiding, or we are keeping our braiding for so long that it pulls on the hair so much. The moment we start getting that growth with the braids and it stays for so long, it keeps pulling onto the hair. Or even if we do loose braids, we hold them in styles that are too tight. We also find a lot of tight styling when it comes to locks. That also causes loss of hair. And also sometimes even when we are doing our weaving, we do it so tight that we end up causing recession of the hairline. So how does this happen? Now, our hair follicles, the roots of the hair, they are held under the skin by connective tissues. These are locks that hold the hair in place. So when we keep on pulling over the hair, we loosen these locks until eventually there is nothing much to hold the root in place. So that root is pulled off. So when you see most of our women having a receding hairline, especially where you're mentioning, sometimes it could be because we have lost more of the terminal hairs there. Most of the times, although sometimes you can also lose the baby hairs, most of the times you'll find that we lose the terminal hairs and then we leave the baby hairs. And most of the times that's what we use to lay our edges. And what you find is the majority of the times once we lose our hair, we will lay the edges to try and just camouflage the area. Now, that hair, even if we were to maybe help it grow, the baby hairs, they might thicken. But what happens is that if the moment you remove what you are using to thicken the hair, then those hairs will still go back to be baby hairs. Yeah.
So the things that people use to thicken these hairs, okay, because recently I've seen online like Minoxidil, people apply things like that to thicken the hair. And then there's been this idea that once you stop using the Minoxidil, then the hair will revert back to what it was before. Is that accurate, or is that just people's propaganda, like people just talking without knowing? Because people usually say when you use Minoxidil, the hair will thicken, but then if you stop using it, it will go back to what it was before. Is that true, or is just...
It is. That's how actually Minoxidil works. Yeah. When you use Minoxidil, it helps to thicken the hair. So what it does is it does something we call vasodilation. It helps capillaries to move closer to the hair. So the hair follicles get better nourishment, and that causes the hair. You remember we talked about the stages of hair growth. It makes the hair to stay in the growing phase a little longer before transitioning. So we keep longer hair. So if we remove the Minoxidil, then we might notice hair. It might not be immediately, but over time you might not notice the hair going. You might start noticing the hair going back to where it was at the very beginning. Now, does that mean it doesn't work? It does work. However, it's important that when you're starting to use it, then you should know what are you expecting moving forward.
Essentially what you're saying is when someone gets onto Minoxidil, is it like a lifelong...
It is.
It's a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think people need to know this, like this kind of information, because most people just start it because, you know, things can get trendy online. There's a time when Minoxidil was really trendy, like on TikTok, everyone was talking about it and all this. So I think people need to know, and I'm glad that you're here talking to us about this, because sometimes someone starts something and they don't know that you have to commit to this thing forever, or you start this treatment and you don't... you don't know. But then there's something I really wanted to touch on before we get into the real conversation. You've talked about hair loss, but mostly you've talked about gradual hair loss. But in my instance, like for me, when I lost my hair, I went to a salon to get my hair texturized, and I lost a chunk of hair at once. So what could cause that? Could it be that something was happening, like an underlying thing that was happening maybe over years that I hadn't noticed? Or could it be that it was the chemical processing that maybe was too much? What could cause that? Like if someone went into a salon, and you have had instances where someone is maybe bleaching their hair and then all of the hair comes off. But for me, the thing that really worried me was that it was almost like it had come out from the root. So is it something that was happening over time that I didn't notice? What could cause that?
Now, remember we talked about hair loss from breeding, what we call traction. Now, another way that we can lose hair is exactly what you've mentioned, chemical processing. Sometimes we over-process the hair, or sometimes the chemicals that we are using on the hair are not very friendly to the scalp. So several things will happen. We might either get irritation on the scalp. That might also cause allergic reactions, and sadly, it might also cause burns. Now, sometimes you might not actually get the effect of what happened during that very one contact with the chemical at that particular time. But over time, as you keep texturizing your hair, as you keep doing any other type of relaxer or chemical processing, the scalp still keeps record of the stress that you're putting on the scalp. Over time, this could cause inflammatory responses on the scalp, and that could cause hair loss. So for your case, probably, it could have been something that was happening over time, and then at this particular day, either there was some over processing that caused us to see significant shedding of hair, but significant shedding of hair could still have happened, be that first contact caused maybe a reaction on the skin, an allergic reaction that ended up causing you to lose that big chunk of hair. Yeah. However, what I normally find mostly is that when we are doing chemical processes, especially when not done professionally, sometimes they could we could end up having some over processing at some point, or sometimes we don't do patch tests and we use products that are not very friendly on the skin, and then eventually we end up seeing, I have seen quite a number of patients with the same ordeal as you. Yeah, but if we are able to eliminate the stressor in good time, then we can prevent further hair loss.
Okay, that's good news for me because it's been years of trying to grow back my hair. Good enough right now, it has grown back a bit. You could hardly tell if I didn't tell you that I was losing hair. But for most people, sometimes you won't get it back. And this is, I really wanted to touch on this because you see this chemical processing, at least for me, it began at a really young age. Our mothers have this thing of, she has to look nice. She has, and you know, you let a child sit through pain because sometimes they're like, it's not yet ready. The hair hasn't texturized enough. It's like, you need to sit for 5 more minutes. And the child sometimes is crying like, oh, it's burning me. It's burning me. And usually you won't, because people, it's like beauty is pain. There's that saying, I don't know if you've ever heard it. They're like, beauty is pain. So a lot of girls grow up with that mentality that even if I'm in the salon and my hair is on fire, I should be able to take it a little longer because I want the end result. I want to look pretty. I want to look beautiful. And also, I'm glad that you came on here with your natural hair because there's a big misconception that African natural hair isn't beautiful as it is. And I'm so glad when I see women wear their natural hair out because there's that thing that our hair is too bulky and too big and it's not pretty enough. But I wish we could change that over time, and I'm sure it's changing now. There's been a lot of there's been a movement of women that wear their natural hair, wear natural locks out and things like that. So I'm really happy to see that in my lifetime. But yeah, I really wanted to touch on the chemical processing bit because a lot of young girls go through that and it's considered the norm, that this is normal. Like if your hair is burning a little in the salon, it's normal. But what if you don't know that is going to cause something later or even at that exact point? And now you've mentioned also that you've seen a lot of women with this same issue that I had of losing hair due to chemical processing. Is chemical processing in itself the evil, or is it the way that it's done? Like chemical process, is it the bad thing, or is it the way that it's done that is causing the hair loss?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's the evil in the room at this case, although we have studies that are linking many years of chemical processing, even well done, with inflammatory conditions. Those are studies that have been done, and we are seeing cases where even individuals who have done chemical processes in the right way and have not gotten any bans over processing, over time, not everyone, but over time, we are seeing a group of women who are developing conditions like CCCA. This is a very common condition among women of African descent. It's called central centrifugal psychiatric alopecia, and it happens from the crown. We start seeing a patch of hair loss at the crown, and then it spreads out over time. Now, we can, but I would say that there is still a big percentage of women who will still get hair loss from chemical overprocessing. And I would say it's exactly from what you've talked about, us attributing beauty to pain. So that means even when they go to the salon, instead of probably the professional in the salon using the manufacturer's guidelines on how much time should it take for the chemical to process and to develop, for them to probably rinse it out, we use exactly what you said. Sit with it until you start feeling some pain, some itch, and that's the only time we will wash it off. Yeah, so that is one of the things that I see a lot. And then I also feel, even us as women, we sometimes enjoy pushing the limits. Yeah, so we will do color today, we will want to do color next week, and the other week we want to process the hair. We want to change with the trends. So the more we are exposing our scalp to more chemical processes, it's not doing us justice at the end of it all. Yeah.
No, that's really true, because if I'm just even braids are painful most of the time, but a typical African girl can go through that pain because they want the result at the end. They don't care the process, how tight you're pulling their hair. Most of the time, they won't care. It's only now the people that are knowledgeable about these issues like traction alopecia and all this that will be in the salon and be like, no, don't pull my hair that tightly. No, don't do this to my hair. Even if they feel like a slight tingle in that, they're like, no, I don't want that. But most people, the norm is that it should be painful. It's normal for it to be painful. It's normal for your chemical processor to hurt a little bit. You see, there's that kind of misconception, and I want you to debunk that. We're debunking that today, because I feel like a lot of us, at least me growing up in my time, it was always like, pain, beauty is pain, beauty is pain, so you have to sit through it. So we've talked about traction alopecia, we've talked about hair loss due to overprocessing. What other things? Could it be like nutrition? Does nutrition play a role in us losing hair? Then I've also heard about pregnant women losing hair. And then you also see like someone could be sick and then they begin to lose hair. What causes that, and what can we actually eat or do to improve that? Because I've noticed that sometimes it's also genetic and sometimes it's also nutritionally based why we are losing hair. Maybe also stress, like you mentioned earlier. What can we do to avoid losing more hair, like without coming to the clinic, just by our lifestyle choices? And what can we do to avoid losing hair?
Well, yeah, not other than traction and chemical processes, we have a lot of other areas from which we can lose hair. And diet is a huge area when it comes to that. Now, at the times that we are living in at the moment, we have the emergence of numerous fad diets. Anywhere you turn, you will find that someone is doing a keto diet, or somebody is eliminating carbohydrates, or somebody is doing something about a diet they are on. Now, what happens with this is, and that's why I was saying, as times go by, we get to see more and more hair loss caused by different things, depending on how the society is changing and the behavior, the human behavior. So when we embrace this fad diet, what happens is that when we eliminate some elements of our diet, when we take away carbohydrates from our diet, then that means we are not getting sufficient nutrients to provide us with energy. And the hair cells are the second fastest growing, the tissue of the hair. So that means it needs a lot of energy for that to happen. So if we are not getting enough of energy-giving food, then that will affect the hair growth. We might start noticing some shedding. Even as we are doing these diets, we lose weight drastically. That extreme weight loss sometimes would also cause excessive shedding of hair. So what do we need to do? We just need to look into diets that are not necessarily eliminating completely certain types of food, but looking into consideration that we are taking probably portions that are allowing us to take all the beneficial nutrients that we need for proper hair follicle development, while we are still attaining this other goal that we want to achieve, may it be weight loss, may it be fitness, whichever goal that we are looking at achieving with this diet that we are on. Now, the other thing is that there is no one special diet that can help you grow your hair. What is important is that you take a balanced diet. We need the vitamins, we need the minerals, we need the proteins, we need the carbohydrates, we need them all. So because each and every of those nutrients is playing a key role when it comes to hair follicle development, and that translates to how your hair looks like. Now, other than diet, again, we have genetic predispositions. We do have conditions that will be brought about by our genetic predisposition, especially genetic type of hair loss. We call it androgenetic alopecia. And I must say that there's a lot of fear around the word alopecia. And alopecia means hair loss. And I always tell my patients, think of alopecia like how you would go to a doctor and they tell you have an illness. The only way you get to know what type of illness and what you're treating is when they tell you what it is. So the same with alopecia. When you say you have alopecia, then my role is to know or let you know what type is it. So there is a lot of fear around alopecia, but sometimes you find that what we call alopecia are probably types of hair loss that we can actually manage. Actually, most of them we can manage. Yes, I find that fear quite a lot among most people that I talk about.
No, it's true. It's true. Because even me, actually, when I first lost my hair, I didn't even want to hear that word, alopecia. Like even checking, I couldn't even Google it because I was like, that is not my portion. In Jesus' name. Like I just kept saying to myself, I can't be the person with alopecia. I can't be even when I talk to my family, like my mom, because my mom is almost 70. So she was like, I don't know where you got those issues from. For us in our family, we don't have this. We don't have these issues. We don't lose hair. Have you seen me with a bald? So it was really, I was so scared for the longest time because I just had this hope that my hair will grow back. My hair will grow back. My hair will grow back. And you see, the funny thing is, people will tell you, use this oil here. I wanted us to touch on that too. Use this oil, apply this oil. Don't worry, your hair will grow back. But yet there is an underlying issue that's causing you to lose this hair. And you're trying to cover it up with, applying this oil, buying this hair growth oil. And there's so many scams. My God, people will sell you, onion oil, what? Okay, I think, you're going to explain to us, do those things actually help? Because people will give you onion oil, rosemary oil, castor oil. Okay, there's so many that I've had. Someone will boil up rice water. There's rice water. So many things. Apply this to your hair. Do this twice a week. Flaxseed oil, whatever. All these things. And then you will lie to yourself for years and years. Because for me, I've been treating my hair loss. Now I can actually call it alopecia, hair loss, for years. But the difference is there, but you can tell that there's something wrong. And that's what pushed me to actually come to Hair Hub, because I was like, yes, I can see that the hair is growing, but something is affecting this hair. There's something that's causing this hair not to grow. So yeah, I want you to talk on that. Like, there's that fear. And I think why people, like, they push going to the hair clinic or to the trichologist to the last resort, because there's so much fear around that. Like, how can I be the one losing hair? What did I do wrong to be the one that's losing hair? You see, so I feel, thank you for touching on that. Like, there's a certain fear around alopecia that it's permanent, that it can't be treated, and that once you begin to lose your hair, it's never going to grow back again. So I'm really glad that you touched on that. So thank you for that. But then also tell us about the oils and all these things that are being marketed. Do they really help? Or are they it's just a marketing strategy, or do they help at some level?
Well, that's very interesting because my main concern with the oils and everything else that we have in the market, in the beauty industry, that claims to help us with our hair loss, is that most of the times they don't tell us what type of hair loss, because that's what I have just mentioned, that if you are having hair loss, then we need to know what type. Then we know what is causing it. Then we are able to know what are we going to use to treat it. For example, if I am losing hair because I am on a crash diet, and you're losing hair because you had a chemical process that probably didn't go as planned, and our friend was losing hair because they went through a very stressful period in their life, and they used an oil, and coincidentally, by the time they were finishing to use that oil, the stress had passed and their hair stopped shedding. But they sell us that oil, both of us, claiming that it worked for them. It won't work for us because we were not going through the same type of hair loss. That's my main concern. Well, the oils are good. The oils are filled with elements that are very good for probably structural support of the hair. They have some oils will have some amino acids, some lipids, some good components that have shown, studies have shown that they are good for hair. Not necessarily hair growth, I would say maintenance, because, well, if we are talking about treating hair loss, it's very important to go down to the root cause. If we don't do that, then we might not be getting a lot of improvement on that. And that's what us as specialists are really trying to pass on the message, that there's no one size fits all. This oil that is being marketed in terms of helping us regrow our hair, what type of hair loss is it addressing? And I think that's where the frustration comes in, that the consumer buys and buys and buys, but they never get to see the results that we're looking at. Or we see a lot of influencing about certain oils, certain products, but then probably the type of hair loss that that person who was marketing that product was going through is not the same hair loss that the consumer who is actually looking to buy from that particular person is going through. So, well, oils are good. They do help with supporting the hair, just providing emolliency, keeping our hair structurally very good. But when it comes to hair loss, I'll still heavily rely on professional guidance to help address this. Sometimes you even find that the type of hair loss someone is going through would have been sorted in a not very extreme manner if we were able to address it in good time. But the more we wait trying new things, we end up really, it costs us quite a lot. Mm-hmm.
No, that's true, because I think there's also this thing, and I think in a way it's a disservice. You see, a lot of people these days go to social media for, like, it's almost like they're going to a doctor. They would rather go to social media and listen to, oh, this influencer is saying this, or this influencer said this, and stuff like that. Yet they don't even know the source of this person's information. Where is this person getting this information? Even if they're showing you that, oh, I lost my hair 3 years ago, like what you've mentioned, do you know why they lost their hair?
Exactly.
You don't know that. But then you're just considering that oh, let me do this. Let me do the same thing that that influencer did because she got back her hair. And then also there's also, like, okay, I wanted us to touch on this. Usually sometimes people will say something is not working. Let's say you start losing hair. They'll be like, oh, go and do these blood tests. Do some blood tests here and there and see why you're losing hair. So what in our body, what blood tests can someone do to tell if their hair is, if they are losing their hair because of something, or this is why they are losing their hair? Are there certain blood tests that someone can do even before coming to you that can maybe show them that this hair loss you're experiencing is not normal? Something is wrong that you need to address, or what blood tests can someone do?
Well, where I would advise blood test is probably when somebody is excessively shedding hair. But if we are already seeing patches or we are already feeling things like soreness and inflammation, then that might not necessarily be solved by blood test, because sometimes we have to do things like a scalp biopsy, where we pick a sample from the scalp, we take it to the lab, and then the pathologist analyzes it and tells us what are they seeing deep into the follicular structure that could be causing what's happening on the scalp. But when it comes to blood tests, if you're doing probably your annual physicals, you're doing your blood works, you can always check for elements like vitamin D, things like zinc, iron, ferritin. Ferritin are iron stones. If they are below where we would like them to be, then sometimes we might notice excessive shedding. Sometimes they may also be showing us that probably the inflammation or something that's happening on your scalp could be related to a deficiency. But what I would really recommend is that, well, unless you're doing your annual physicals or you're doing some blood tests for something and then you pick these things, well, it would be best if you probably sought professional advice, then I or the profession can guide you on what specific tests you need to do. Sometimes we might also need to check for hormonal profile. We might need to know where your hormones are, both male and female hormones. We might also want to check for inflammatory markers. All these are blood tests that we can do to see what could really be causing exactly what's happening. So yes, blood tests are good. You might not be able to really, there are so many. And of course, the more they are, then that means the more the resources that they will need for you to do them. So instead of doing all of them, we narrow them down to what exactly do we need. Just like the way you'd go to the hospital with a fever and then the doctor would see what do you need to test and not everything on the panel.
No, that's really important, because I think that's also another importance of establishments like now Hair Hub and more trichologists coming up, because I think people need to look at hair loss as, like what you said earlier, as a disease. Okay, it's like you have malaria or you got an infection. People are not afraid to go to the hospital for things like that. But then when it comes to hair, I guess because it's so much part of our identity of how we see ourselves and all this, there's a certain fear about seeking professional help when it comes to hair loss. And also I think because it's such a sensitive area, the head, people are like, if someone is poking in and out of my head and all this, will I survive it?
I get that a lot. Will you touch my brain?
Because even me, you see, when I was, before I actually came to Hair Hub, my family was saying, what are you doing? Well, these people are going to be poking into your head and all this. And even me, at a certain level, I was scared. I was like, okay, this person is going in with a machine into my head and all this. What's happening? You see, there's a certain fear around that. But I think instead of self-diagnosing and then going on the internet and trying to find all these solutions, I think it's, in the long run, it might seem expensive upfront, but I think in the long run, it's cheaper, because you won't be doing like a trial and error kind of phase. You'll go to a professional who will, like what you said, narrow it down such that they know exactly what is causing the hair loss, instead of you jumping from here to here, probably making the issue worse. Yeah.
I agree with you. And actually what I see is that the more we take long trying probably other things to treat the hair loss continues to progress over time and over. And as you've said, the more progressed the hair loss is, of course, the more resources it will need for us to address it. But the sooner you come in, when the hair loss is probably in its initial stages, then we are able to probably use less resources, even in terms of finances, to be able to probably recover the hair.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of things. We've covered hair loss. We've covered these treatments people are giving us online. We've covered hair oils and all this blood tests and everything. But in just a few words, what are those things you would tell women today just to stop immediately doing to their hair if they want to have long hair, healthy hair? Because you see, there's so many things that are part of our culture as Africans. It's just like braids are such a huge part of our culture. It's like even when I wear braids, I feel more African. There's something about it that makes me feel I'm an African girl. So what are some of those things that you would tell us that immediately today, if you want your hair to last you for to grow longer and be healthier, what can they stop doing now?
Well, the first thing is that we should actually stop tight braiding. Now, there is one thing that we embrace that is called protective styling. Now, protective styling is not protecting your hair if it's tight. And I get this a lot with my patients. A patient comes in, we analyze the scalp, we find that they have lost hair follicles, probably along the hairline, from years of pulling. But the next question that I get is, but I have been doing protective styling. But protective styling, as long as it's tight, it stops being protective anymore. So if we are doing our double twists, if we are doing our braiding, if we are doing our cornrows, they have to be done loosely. Now, braiding is not bad, and our cornrows are not bad, but if they are tightly done, then we end up losing the hair over time. Now, what is tight? Tight is where after you from the salon, you can already feel like you have that artificial facelift, or you have to take a Panadol or you can't sleep because.
Celestine, the thing is, you see, most of us actually look forward to that facelift, because let me tell you, once you've just gotten your hair braided, even if you had a pimple somewhere, it will not show, because it's like this, oh, you just get this immediate snatching like of your face, and you just say like, oh my god, all this beauty was hidden under there.
Yeah.
But I think it will take time and more talking about it, and people, because even me recently when I was seeing Dr. Muli, he told me your braids are too tight. You need to get someone to do your hair looser, because this is too tight for your hair, and you're managing a condition now, so you need to be careful with that. But it's just that we have this thing that if it's not tight, it's not neat. It doesn't look nice. Like it's not giving. Is it? So
I'm really happy that we are now having more and more hairstylists, more salons that are embracing this other part of pain does not necessarily have to mean beauty. Yes. So we have salons that are embracing this, and they even advise you, in case you go there and you're choosing probably a style that probably might be detrimental to your hairline, looking at how it looks like, then they advise against it. Oh, I'm so happy about where the beauty industry is going, especially when it comes to styling our African hair. Now, the other thing is that I have to keep encouraging my patients and everybody who does locking that also tightly manicuring your locks can also cause us to lose hair over time. So when we tightly lock it in and then we style it so tightly, then that means we are also pulling onto the hair strand. So that's also something else that I would like us to stop doing. And also, let's look at, let's involve professionals when it comes to our chemical processes. Well, TikTok has become our salon.
It's like a school of everything.
Yes. So we go in there, we just buy the products, we do our relaxing in the house, we do our coloring in the house. But I still really, really recommend for professional chemical processing, because it saves us a lot when you look at what happens after we do this for many, many years or even months, depending on how sensitive your scalp is. Yes. And then the other thing that I would also want us to stop doing is stop being afraid of the word alopecia.
It's really a scary word. I'm telling you, it's so scary, because I think most of the cases we've seen of alopecia, I think in the past, are extreme cases where someone has like 1, 2, 3 strands of hair. Like I was just saying, oh my God. So when you hear the word alopecia, it's just so scary. Maybe they should even find a different word for this thing I say, because alopecia just makes you feel like I have no hair at all. Like I have no hair at all. And this isn't reversible. This cannot be treated. It's like a permanent thing. So yeah, alopecia is a scary
Yeah,
word.
you should see how much I try my best to keep that word out of my
Please,
consultations.
if they could come up with a different word, like a different word for that thing, because it's just, and I think it keeps a lot of people away.
It does. And you see, and even when I'm doing my consultations, I will go through the whole 30-minute consultation. We discuss. I tell you have traction or you have something else. But before my patient leaves my office, they will ask me, do I have alopecia? It's something that I think has been coined into us so much. And now, and every time I have to really make sure that I explain, because I don't want the patient to go feeling like it's the end of life. And the word alopecia to most people means, just as you've said, they have lost all hope of ever recovering their hair. But that's not the case. We do have a lot of solutions when it comes to hair loss. As much as we are saying that the earlier we treat it, the better, whichever stage you come to us in, we will definitely do our best to make sure that we get your hair to the best possible place that we can.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really key point of this episode, actually, because I think we need to demystify and kind of remove that danger that surrounds the word alopecia, because it's just a very scary word, even to hear it. It's just because my friend actually one time told me when I had just started losing my hair, she's like, maybe you have alopecia, and that that was like, it was like stabbing me in the heart. I was like, no, I can't have alopecia. In our family, we don't have alopecia. How can I? So it's just, yeah, I think we need to debunk that. And then also, I wanted to talk about, there's something that I wanted you to tell us. Do people have limits to how long their hair can grow? Because I think that's also another technique that a lot of people that are marketing hair growth oils and all this tell people that, oh, you can grow hair like hers, your hair can be as long as that. But I think it's important for people to know that the genetics plays a role, and then there's all these different things. Like is there a limit to how long someone's, because sometimes like there's a time I was asking myself, I've had my hair this length for almost 3 years, can it grow longer than this and all that? Can people, can us Africans, can we grow long hair, or is there a limit to how long our hair can grow?
We can, however, and you're right. The market out here has a field day when it comes to marketing products as products that can help us grow our hair to our waist length. But can that really happen on everyone? Sadly, no. Why? Because our hair, the length of our hair is genetically predetermined. Now, remember us talking about the growth phases. The first phase, which is the anagen phase, the growth phase, lasts anywhere from 2 to 6 years in humans. So if your growth phase is 2 years, genetically predetermined, that means your hair can probably grow up to your shoulder length. When it gets to your shoulder length, that hair strand sheds, and then a new hair strand starts growing on that place. If your growth phase is 6 years, then that means you grow your hair very long all the way to your waist length. Now, when we are styling our hair, when we are doing our daily routines on our hair, sometimes we can encourage our hair to get to its maximum growth length or discourage it. How do we do that? If we are having split ends that are not addressed, if we are doing excessive chemical processing that causes us to have hair breakage, a lot of heat processing, which is another element that is very, very rampant. If there is a lot of things that we are doing on our hair that are causing hair breakage, then that means we are not getting to our predetermined length. Then that means we don't get to the length that probably our hair was meant to get. Now, keeping our hair in a good state, addressing hair loss and things like inflammation is very important, because when we are having these things, they shorten the growth phase. The moment they shorten the growth phase, then you will come and tell me my hair doesn't grow long at the top, but it grows long on all the other areas. Yeah. Yes. So we look at all those things. But in a nutshell, we cannot all have our hairs to our waist length. Sorry to disappoint you, but we can encourage our hair to get to its maximum length. Do those hair products that claim to help us grow our hair to our waist length work? Well, I don't think so.
No, but I actually, growing up, I've just realized that hair is beautiful in all its sizes.
Mhm.
Even if you can grow your hair to its maximum length as an afro, and it's thick and you can comb it out, that's beautiful too. And I think it's just, I'm glad that in this day and age, we're showing the different sides of hair. It doesn't always have to be straight. It doesn't always have to be until your knees or wherever you want it to be. It can still be short and beautiful. And then there's also a lot of young women embracing shorter hair, like a really low cut, and it's beautiful
Very
too.
beautiful,
So
yeah.
I think as long as your hair is healthy and you are doing everything in your power to keep it that way, I think it can be beautiful. It doesn't have to be that straight hair is only the beautiful hair, red hair is the beautiful hair. No, I think it's all kinds of hair can be beautiful. So I know we're running out of time, but I wanted us to go through the rapid fire. This is my best part of the of the podcast, and it also helps us cover some parts of the questions that we couldn't cover in the limited time. So don't think so much about it. Just give the first answer that comes to your mind. Okay. Wigs or braids?
Braids.
You'd prefer braids. Okay.
Well done.
Well done meaning loose enough, not too
Yes,
tight.
yeah.
Okay. Air drying or blow drying?
Air drying all the time, all day, any day.
So blow drying isn't good for our hair.
It's not bad, but if done with excessive heat, then it will cause damage.
Do these things help, like heat protectants and
They
stuff?
They do a lot, yeah.
Okay. Oiling the scalp, yes or no?
Yes or no? Yes or no? Still, why? Sometimes if we oil the scalp and we have excessive production of oil on the scalp, then that will be detrimental. If the scalp is too dry, then I want to add some oil on it just to make sure we don't get any irritation. When the skin is too dry, it tends to crack.
So the hair, like oiling the scalp, it helps.
It does. It does. But we need to know the condition of the scalp first. Yeah. Because if you already have enough sebum, the oils on the scalp, we put more oil, we might be causing you a lot of grief.
Okay. Rosemary oil, is it worth the hype or it's overhyped?
Overhyped.
Okay. Rice water, yes or absolutely not?
Absolutely not.
Oh God. Like we've been doing everything wrong. And then there's something we haven't touched on, but maybe you'll tell us a little bit. PRP, is it worth the money?
Absolutely. If it's done on the right, from a right diagnosis. If we are doing PRP to help thinning hair, to help support probably transplanted hair, or to help make sure that we get the growing face back to its normal cycle, fantastic.
Okay.
But doing PRP on an area that doesn't have active hair follicles, not worth it.
Okay, so it's really mostly, it's like a supportive treatment. It's not something that's going to perform magic where there is no hair.
Where we don't have active hair follicles, where we don't have hair follicles, then we will not going to get any growth. We need hair follicles for PRP to be able to work.
Oh, okay. And then minoxidil, friend or foe?
It's friend, but I would say that with information, like you need the expectations, managed expectations.
Okay. Hair vitamins, necessary or expensive? P.
Good to have.
Then sleeping with a bonnet, essential or optional?
Essential, very.
Okay. It helps like to avoid the hair like breaking. What does the
it helps to preserve the moisture into the hair, because when we sleep on cotton beddings, on cotton caps, then two things will happen. The friction with that material may cause breakage, tangling, which might not be very good on your hair, and it might also absorb the moisture from your hair.
Okay. How long is too long to keep braids in?
4 weeks plus.
Oh, so it should be shorter than that.
Yeah.
Okay. One hairstyle you wish women would stop wearing so often? Tell us.
I know there is this very heavy extensions that I find, and they cling onto the hair so much. I don't know what type of braid or extension that they use, but it clings onto the hair so much, and its weight is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay. One hair habit you wish every Black woman would start doing?
I think one of hair habit that I would want every African woman to start doing is sleeping in a bonnet, satin bonnet.
Satin bonnet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you could keep one product for healthy hair,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be?
A shampoo, a good shampoo. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then finally, what's the one thing women should never ignore when it comes to their hair?
Anything that makes you feel like your hair is not the way it used to be, especially a receding hairline.
Okay. So, well, sadly, we have to come to the end of the podcast because I don't know, there's some conversations I have and I wish I could go on and on and on, but sometimes there's a limit to time. And I guess it's also good because it keeps us wanting more. And then we will look for that information, maybe come to Hair Hub or contact you. Actually, Celestine, if someone wanted to contact you, where would they find you?
Okay. You'll find me at Hair Hub Trichology Center. We are along Gong Road, just next to Coptic Hospital at Bermuda Plaza, Suite A5. Or you can call us, drop us a WhatsApp at 0735 559 562.
Okay, so you had that here. If you're having issues with your hair, and I'm sure you probably know someone that's having issues with their hair, please reach out to them. In your closing remarks, I wanted you to share with us that if can most women, and this is also for me, can most women who are experiencing hair loss actually have hope that their hair will grow back?
Absolutely. There is always something we can do, depending on how far along we are with the hair loss. Now, are there cases where there is little that we can do? Yes. But wouldn't you want to know that first before you give up? Yes. It's important that we have a consultation. We see where we are. If there is something we can do, then we work on it.
Okay, that's well said. Celestine, please talk to the camera and let a woman out there, even if it's a man, okay, this podcast is predominantly for women, but even if it's a man, speak directly to the camera and tell them if they're experiencing thinning hair, maybe someone that they know is experiencing thinning hair, what would you advise them to do? What would be the first step for them to do? And yeah, just encourage them in your own words.
Okay, so if you or a friend or somebody you know is experiencing thinning hair or hair loss in general, I would advise that you seek professional help. We see what's happening first, then we see what would work best for you. Now, hair loss, we always say the earlier we treat it, the better.
Thank you so much, Celestine. It's been a pleasure having you on. Hopefully I can have you on again. Maybe next time you'll actually show us like live, maybe pictures and illustrations. So
I'll be happy to, yeah.
So people can know really, because we really need to debunk the whole alopecia thing and the fear around it and all that. Because I've actually seen people that lost hair and grew it back. So I think once you have the right information, it's easier to get a diagnosis and then also treat that and manage that instead of just trying here and there. Someone is lying to you because they want money here and that. So I think, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Thank you for sharing like these beads of wisdom. And like we always say here on the Cinnamon Beauty podcast, if this podcast helped you in any way, if you feel encouraged in any way, and if you know someone that you feel needs to listen to this podcast, please share it with them. Like, comment, let us know what we can do to bring you better guests, what we can do to help you in whatever area of your life that you're struggling, because the key of this podcast is self-improvement. And as I always say, sending you my love and endless blessings. Stay fabulous.